Antonio.
What's 1776 plus 80? 104. 104. Right?
Oh, that's 40. Oh, you want the year? Double.
What's 1856 plus 80?
1936.
19 what?
36.
What's 1936 plus 80? History repeats itself, just not the same frequency nor intensity. True or false?
True.
What happened in and around 1776?
The American Revolution.
The American Revolution. Big change?
Yes.
What happened in and around 1856? Whose Civil War?
Ours.
America's Civil War. Pretty big change? Pretty much. What happened in and around 1936? Fine. And what is about to happen? World War II. Kind of a big deal, yes or no?
Yes.
What happened in 2016? Trump's elected. Kind of a big deal?
Yes.
Based on history, yeah. We'll have to wait and see. 80-year cycles.
You never finished up the French Revolution.
No, we haven't, because I have other things I'm talking about right now. Then I'll get to France. Hit the lights. Guys, all this stuff with Hillary and Trump, and all this stuff with O'Rourke and Cruz, okay? What do you think? You think you're like the first one ever? Okay? I told you, history repeats itself, just not the same frequency nor intensity. American politics is no different. It hasn't changed. You're not going to find these slides. They're not on the PowerPoint. I put them together this morning. What happened in 1800? Well, we had an election. Kelly.
The election of 1800 between John Adams and Thomas Jefferson was an emotional and hard-fought campaign.
Sound familiar? Troy?
Each side believes that victory by the other would ruin the nation.
Sound familiar?
Yes.
Trent?
Federalists attacked Jefferson as an unleashed bloodshed and chaos in the United States.
Chaos to who?
United States.
Never Trumpers believe that, don't they? Mr. K?
On the other side, the Democratic Republicans denounced the strong centralization of federal power under Adams' presidency.
4 years later. 4 years later. American politics. Spilker.
The duel that Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr fought on July 11, 1804 is American history's most studied show.
Who's Alexander Hamilton?
He's one of the founding fathers.
He was a founding father. And he was probably in line to become what eventually?
President.
He didn't quite make it, did he?
Because
Okay.
of an affair.
Well, because of that, he's dead.
That too.
All right. Taylor. Oops. Hold on. Taylor.
At Weehawken Flats, an isolated ledge on the New Jersey bank of the Hudson River, across from what is now the west end of 42nd Street.
All right. Johnson.
The sitting Vice President of the United States shot and killed a pillar of the Federalist Party.
Watson.
Who had been President George Washington's right-hand man and the nation's first Secretary of the Treasury.
Master.
A fatal moment Henry Adams declared the most dramatic in the early politics of the Union.
1856. Not just reserved for presidential candidates and their vice presidents. We now go to the Senate, the U.S. Senate. 1856. 1856. Okay. Troy.
At first, it just seemed like a long-winded speech on the floor of the U.S. Senate, a 5-hour, 112 handwritten page address delivered over the course of 2 days in May 1856.
Swilly.
But Charles Sumner, a senator for Massachusetts, had no way of knowing that the crime against Kansas.
Dunlap.
His fiery
soliloquy that spoke out on behalf of disenfranchised slaves would become one of American history's most inflammatory and dangerous speeches.
Thacker.
2 days after Sumner's speech, Brooks attacked him with a cane at his desk in the old Senate chamber after the day's session had adjourned.
Canali.
Sumner, trapped beneath his desk, was soon dripping with blood and fell unconscious.
Benzie.
Assisting Brooks' attack was South Carolina Congressman Lawrence Ginnett, who had a reputation for his lines.
Ruiz.
He fended off shocked onlookers until finally several were able to rush forward and carry Sumner out.
Joris.
The cane Brooks used for the attack had shattered. He pocketed its gold head and left the building.
About that. Alright, so all this stuff we're hearing about, all this back and forth, all this rhetoric, all this name calling, whatever. Okay? 1800, man. Been around forever. Hopefully you'll learn about some of that stuff next year. That's a push, not me. Alright. Kelly Hillite. French Revolution is 4 quarters. Think of it as a football game, a basketball game, whatever. Game with 4 quarters. Quarter number 1, these are not in the slides. Quarter number 1 is the moderate phase. The moderate phase. 1789 to 1791. Major bullet point, what's going on in the moderate phase of 1789 and 1791. Politically active portions of the bourgeoisie, merchant class, attempts to curb power, curb the privileges of the monarchy, the aristocracy, the clergy, trying to create a limited constitutional monarchy similar to Britain. How did it work out? Look at the picture. How did it work out? Not so much. Radical phase, quarter number 2. Radical phase, 1791 to 1794. What's going on in the radical phase? Politicized urban working class of Paris seizes control. Attempts to create a democratic republic in a more materially and socially equal society. Look up at the screen. That's the goal. That's how you create equality. With those that don't agree with you, that's how you create equality. Why is it called the radical phase? Because this is where the most French died. This is the most violent phase. Quarter number 3, the Thermidor, or the Directory. Thermidor, spell it the best you can. 1794 to 1799. Moderate bourgeoisie faction reasserts itself, concentrating on trying to restore order. Starts with the Committee of Public Safety. It starts with 12, narrows down to 6, narrows down to 3, and then becomes 1. And guess who that 1 is? His name is Napoleon. Quarter number 4. Napoleon's rule. 1799 to 1814. Napoleon running the show. Those are your 4 quarters, basically. Okay? In the beginning, Kelly, you were first to state, right?
Yeah.
Troy, you were second state? Okay. Tran, you're third state. All of them commit the same crime. I don't know, they toot. Okay? Can't toot during class. Are they all going to receive the same punishment? No, they're not. Kelly, what do you want for a final meal? You're going to die tomorrow. your last meal, dude?
A little juicy steak.
A juicy steak. Rare, well done, medium. What do you want?
Medium.
Okay. All right. Good. Anything else? Just a steak.
Mashed potatoes.
Mashed potatoes. Okay. All right. You want butter and gravy in it? What do you want?
Yeah, sure.
Fine. Anything to drink?
Some expensive wine.
Okay. All right. Go big or go home. Okay. What about a dessert? You want a dessert?
Sure, cake. Chocolate.
Chocolate cake. Okay. Very good. How do you want to die? Do you want a firing squad? Do you want lethal injection? How do you want to go?
Firing squad.
Firing squad. Okay, good. Do you want to see the bullets coming into your heart, or do you want to be blindfolded?
Blindfolded.
Okay, all right. Do you want to be? Do you want a cigarette? You want a cigarette to calm your nerves before the firing squad shoots, or you're not a smoker? I don't know if you're a smoker. So you just want a cigarette? You're fine, no smoking? All right, it's cool. I know Red Red Wait was 2 weeks ago. Okay. All right. All right, so that's how Kelly goes. Okay? Now let's go to Tran. Pep rally, Friday. We all go to the MAC. Tran's in the middle, center court. Okay. And her deal is she's strung up. Remember Vitruvian Man? She's spread out, ankles and wrists roped off. Okay, tied to 4 different horses in 4 different directions. And what happens is Vassar's in the stands, furiously running back and forth collecting money, as the bets are flying as to which limb will be freed from the rest of the body first. Okay, so we got that going on. Oh, let me go back to Choi. We got to kill him because he tooted in class, and that's illegal. So Choi, put your head down because you're sitting on you're resting on a tree stump. So put your head down. Okay. So the executioner comes in, right? The guy in black, the black hood, and all that stuff. He's got an axe, right? Okay. So here he comes. And this is full-on class participation, right? So let's count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, raise your head. Chop. Okay. So I hit his ear. So his ear's flying in the air. Okay. Blood's squirting everywhere. Projectile vomiting this whole row, except for Kelly and Tran. They're both dead. Okay. Choi's screaming like a little girl. I lost my ear. Okay, a little baby. All right. Like, Troy, shut up, sit down, okay? Watson, go to Home Depot and go get me some rope, okay? So like 15 minutes later, he comes back, so we can tie up Choi so he doesn't move, right? Okay? All right, so let's get, put your head down. All right, so 1, 2, 3, okay? And as I'm going, okay, because I've done this like 500 times before, right? So the axe head is released from the handle, spinning in the air, hits Joris right next to her teeth marks in her forehead, and now she's dead. Okay? So Joris is, okay, blood so this whole row, projectile vomits, janitors are going to be busy today. This pep rally, busy janitors. Okay? Johnson, can you go to Lowe's, please? Can you get me a brand new axe? Mine's a little bit worn out. Okay? Troy's still, he's still whining. Okay? Jenkins like, put it in a bottle and shut up already. Okay? So 30 minutes later, come back. Now I got a brand new axe. Okay? Head down. 1, 2, 3. Several chops later. Okay? Finally, his head comes off. Okay? And then the rest of the Mac vomits. All right? Guys, this was a public event. You know that, right? You know the old school courthouses like in Fort Worth and Dallas? Right? The tallest part of the courthouse where the bell is and stuff. What went on there?
Hanging.
That's where all the hangings were. And you all had a view to be, that's why the courthouses, that's why it's like that up there. Okay? It was a public event, man. It's what you did. You got the day off of school and stuff to go watch these things. Now, as a general rule, okay, are they treated equally? Was this fair? Clearly not. Clearly not. So, I walk in France, and I have a dream. Do you want to hear my dream? I have hope and change. Do you want to hear it? My name is Dr. Guillotine. I'm a doctor. And I believe I've been to 3 different pep rallies, and I have vomited 3 different times, as has Stacy and JT and Molly, and I saw all of you. And it was kind of brutal watching these 3 different pep rallies and the way these guys died. For the same exact crime, but yet they died and the executions were carried out in 3 completely different ways. And I don't think that's fair. And I believe in fairness. And I believe in redistribution of the executions. And so I have developed a product which I guarantee will be more than sufficient for the first, second, and third estate crimes. See, here's the deal. What we will do is we will stick the head inside this wooden block. Is the head going to move at all anymore? No. Well, let's say we have someone who's got really strong neck muscles, okay, and can move around and bust that. Well, we'll lay him flat out, okay, at the same time. All right. So you can't use your thighs, can't use your legs, can't use those muscles. You're flat, prone, and then you're tied on in the back there. And then this wood stub, you're not moving anymore. That is not happening. Your neck is stuck there. Okay? I don't know, 8, 10, 12 feet up. We're going to hoist the blade. Now look at that blade versus my axe. My axe head. Which one's bigger?
Blade.
Which one's heavier?
Blade.
And which one is higher up from the head? Okay. What am I? 5'6"? Okay. The handle is what? 2-3 feet, and then the head. Okay. That thing is 10, 12 feet up in the air. Okay. Look at the blade. Look at its design. When that comes down, okay. Now you need to use physics. Think of the force. Think of the velocity. Think of the weight. Okay. Of it coming straight down, gravity, versus the axe and the executioner winding up and how that happens. Okay? So who has physics on their side? The guillotine. Okay? Starts here, look at the blade, starts here and ends here. Okay? That head will be removed from that body the first time. Guaranteed for life. Or death. Or your money back. No questions asked. Minus shipping and handling. Operators are standing by now waiting your call. Okay. Oh, and by the way, remember I said I'm a doctor, right? See, this is more humane, isn't it? This is more equal, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, when I tell you no one is immune from the guillotine, okay, you will know what I'm talking about. All right? No one is immune from the guillotine. Polly, explain. Look at the document, and the quote is, no one is immune from the guillotine.
Everyone has the same punishment, remember?
Everyone is too vague. Please be more specific.
The first, second, and third estate all have.
Too vague. Focus on one group, and where is your evidence? Go.
The third estate.
Where is there evidence of the third estate being executed via guillotine?
Well, there's 2 people with like wine and
Wine?
well, whatever's in the lady's hand.
Okay, maybe they're cups of wine, maybe. Okay. Oaks, do you agree with Polly, or you going a different route, or what are you doing?
I agree with third estate.
Where's third estate?
On the blade of the guillotine.
Yes?
There's like a tiger, and that's like a royal symbol, right?
Well, I don't know. Have I ever talked about a tiger in class with royalty?
No.
Okay, and even if I did, you're saying third estate, right? So, was royalty part of the third estate? Okay, so we're not going to use that one. Hotit, what are you doing?
First estate.
Where's first estate?
First of all, like she said, maybe the tiger symbolizes royalty, and then you can also see on the ground the crowns and witches, and you can also see.
Whoa. You see what crowns on the floor? First estate?
Yeah.
First estate's clergy.
Oh, first.
So where's the clergy crown?
There's also a cross and right.
Cross,
Like
bishop's crown, cardinal's crown. Okay, so I see the first estate. I see their bodies, their heads obviously have rolled. Taylor?
You see the king's crown right there?
King's crown. So the king ultimately and the queen are going to lose their heads, literally. Okay, Troy?
The second estate,
How do you know that?
there's a sword in the bottom left.
Okay, we got a sword down there. Absolutely. All right. Guys, third estate's there. Do you not see it? Do you not see the newspapers? The learned bourgeoisie? Okay. No one is immune from the guillotine. Do you get it? Now, on a percentage basis, which estate lost the most heads? Why would the third estate lose the most heads? Because they got about a 97% chance they're going into that thing. Just play the odds. Keep the math simple. Got it? Why are the first and second estate the lowest number on a percent? I know it's the 1 and the 2. I got the math of it. But is there another reason why the first and second estate, as a general rule, are not being lopped off in greater numbers? How do you explain that one, Troy?
Well, isn't the first estate the people that have the power to like behead people?
Ultimately, the Jacobins are going to be using that, a political group.
So, are they first estate or?
They're fronted by the bourgeoisie. They're radical bourgeoisie third estate, technically. What do the first and the second estate have as a general rule?
Money. They can bribe their way out of jail.
Okay. So, well, bribe their way out of the guillotine. They have the money. They have the political. They have the social connections. They can bribe to get out of town. Like, literally get out of France. They can exit the country. Emigrate. All we hear about is immigration into the United States of America. No, these guys are emigrating. They're exiting France. Okay? Those that can figure it out, that can see it. All right? Emigres, exiting out. Okay. When was Cannoli? When was France's last public execution via guillotine? What year?
I don't know the year, but I'd assume it'd be the last quarter of the French Revolution.
Give me a century. Last quarter of what century?
The 18th? The 17th?
18th. We're in the 1700s. So what
The
century? 18th century. Last quarter, 18th century. Cannoli is in the wrong century. Patrick, what century was the French last public execution via guillotine?
19th century.
You are in the wrong century. Yoon, what century? 17th century. Guillotines do not exist. You're going backwards. Taylor, go.
20th.
Okay, fine. That was easy. Okay, so Taylor, first half or second half of the 20th century?
I would think the first half.
You would be wrong. So Troy, you're dead. Watson.
Second half.
Oh, good. Excellent guess. That's all that's left. Give us a decade. Go.
1970s.
Close. Close. Well, actually, yeah, 1978, I think it was. 1978. So I was 10 years old. And if I was living in France and had a television set, I probably could have watched it. Okay? But I don't know if I'd want to watch that. 'Cause that's kinda gross.
It was actually June 1939.
What are you talking about?
The last public execution.
No.
What's your source?
Google.
What?
Google.
Who?
Google.
Google. Can you drill down more than that? Google is a search engine. It is not a source.
Wikipedia.
What's your Wikipedia? It's not 1939. It's not 1939. You guys can double check my, I think it was 1977 ultimately, was the last execution using the guillotine. I may not be saying it right. Look it up.
Yeah,
Look it up. Is it 77?
77.
And it's the last public execution, right?
September 10th.
Oh, my birthday was September 11th. How about that?
Mr. Hilliard.
What, Dunlap?
It says that the last public execution was 1939, but they continued in private until 1977.
Oh, okay, so I said it wrong. My ultimate goal was, when was the last execution via guillotine? 1977. So public was 1939, private was 1977. Last time they used the guillotine was 1977. How's that? Is that good? All right, fine. That works. So 39 and 77. Okay. And then what did France do later? Wrap it up. Synthesize. Do they have the death penalty anymore in France? Nope. Nope.
Yeah.
They got rid of the death penalty. Okay, life imprisonment. All right. And once again, it's all ironic because at the end of the day, who invented this thing? A doctor, for humane purposes and for equality. Okay? But see, here's the problem. See, when you chop the head off and the executioner would pick it out of the basket to show to the crowd to verify, sometimes this would happen for 30 seconds to a minute after decapitation. I should have done this for Halloween Eve. But what's going on here? Where are my health physiology major? What's the deal?
Nerves.
Yeah. The brain is freaking out right now. Why?
Because it can't.
What the beep? I have no oxygen. I'm dying. I'm freaking out. So all these muscle twitches. So some of you in the crowd, once you're done projectile vomiting, what do you say to each other?
That's inhumane.
This guy's still alive. Is this truly humane after all? Right? Because now we have that philosophical question, debate. Are they alive after the decapitation process? Okay? No, they're dead. It's just the body involuntarily spazzing out. But that's not what they didn't realize that back then. Okay? It brought up a new philosophical, are they still alive? And so is that cruel and unusual? And, well, obviously the French being the French, they didn't really care until 1977 where they said, okay, enough's enough, right? So that's that. Thousands of people guillotined. Once again, odds are, third estate, 97% chance, okay? Least amount of chance to bail out, to exit when that was happening, okay? All right. Exiting, fleeing the country. All right, so Robespierre is the president, effectively, and Danton's the vice president, essentially, of the Jacobins. The Jacobins take control of the National Assembly. And they say, we have to deal with this problem. And thank you, Dr. Guillotine. We really appreciate it. This is a wonderful invention. We want equality, and we agree that all three estates should be guillotined, and that's wonderful. Okay? And then Robespierre goes to the bathroom. And then he comes back with a sheet of toilet paper, and there's a name on it. Okay? So Robespierre goes to the podium and he reads off the name. AJ. What happens to AJ at noon? How? Guillotine. Tomorrow, Robespierre goes to the bathroom. He comes back with how many sheets of toilet paper? 2. How many names? 2. Goes up to the podium. Bartos and Hall. What happens at noon tomorrow? Guillotine. Robespierre goes to the bathroom. He comes back with how many sheets?
3.
3 with how many names?
3.
Okay? And eventually he comes back with like a Charmin 2-ply, 82 roll, a jumbo size toilet paper hanging out from his shoe with all these names on it. And as he's about ready to start saying some names, then what happens?
He gets guillotined.
Then they're like, screw that noise. My name can be on that list. So then what happens to Robespierre at noon that day?
Guillotined.
And then that ends the radical phase. When he gets guillotined, that's the half. Now we go to the halftime show. Okay. He guillotines his vice president. He was on the toilet paper roll. The VP. And once again, why is Robespierre doing all this? Because every time a tweet, every time a retweet, every time a Snapchat, every time a Facebook post, and any blog or vlog or Facebook, whatever, never Trumper, guillotine. Okay? So anyone calling Robespierre a poo-poo head, nice rug, dude. Okay? Your name goes on the list, man. All right? Now he's gone. And now it's the halftime show. Radical phase is over. Okay? Country teetered several years in disarray. I just told you. It went from 12 people running France to 6 people run. This is AP Euro. This is free of charge. This is the Thermidor. This is the directory. 12 people running France to 6 people running France to a triumvirate, 3 people running France to ultimately Napoleon running France. Okay? Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness are very, very difficult to taste, to touch, to sense, to smell, whatever those 5 senses are. Okay? It's a very romantic concept. The Enlightenment, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, freedom, equality for all. Those are intangible concepts that really have never existed in history. And there's nothing arguably more romantic than Napoleon crossing the Alps. This is one of the, when we're talking about romanticism, 1800 to 1850 in European art, music, poetry, paintings, etc. Romanticism, 1800 to 1850 as a general rule. This is what dominates the art genre in Europe. Okay? Napoleon dominates everything. He dominates mountains. Look at the mountainside. We're in the Alps. You know how big the Alps are. But look at how big Napoleon is relative to the Alps. Napoleon dominates the Alps. He's romantic. Napoleon dominates the horse. Relax, horse. We're moving on. Napoleon's dominating the wind. Look at his finger. Okay? Which direction is the wind going? The way Napoleon's telling it to go. Get it? Doesn't get any more romantic than this. Napoleon crossing the Alps. Here's the deal. Did Napoleon cross the Alps on a horse? No. The reality is Napoleon actually crossed the Alps on a donkey. Now, if we were in the age of realism and we painted Napoleon on donkey before donkey drank the magic potion, okay, then we'd probably have to retitle it, right? Napoleon crossing the Alps on an ass. Well, how do you think that would work out? You think that would work out well? Okay? You get it? see why he has to be sitting on a horse after Donkey drank the potion? Okay, you watch Lilo and Stitch. I know it's Disney Day. Do you know what I'm talking about? You got it? Okay, Donkey and then the potion. Okay, turns into the big white stallion.
That's,
all right?
That's Shrek.
I know. It's Shrek. I know. It's rhetorical. All right, so. Actually, my second guess was Toy Story. So Napoleon comes in. We're in the fourth quarter. Okay? Look at the map. He's going to go and blow throughout Europe. Except for, he's basically out of the Ottoman Empire. But he's basically sucking all of Europe in. Okay? When Europe sneezes, we did it again. When France sneezes, Europe catches a cold. Okay? Democracy does not come easily in France. Nope. Not at all. Okay? We have 4 quarters. All right? I don't know if they're going to teach the quarters concept or the phase. I don't know. How many phases are there in the American Revolution? I thought it was just one. We're going after England, and then poof, we eventually win. Do they have it like in phases? They teach that in middle school? No. So it's like a 1 quarter game essentially. Okay. For France, it was 4 quarters. All right. And Napoleon's now in charge. Okay. And Napoleon, whether wittingly or unwittingly, is essentially releasing Enlightenment ideology throughout Europe. Okay? But is Napoleon going to run it like a republic? Is Napoleon planning on running Europe like a democracy? No. No. Okay? Here's another painting. Now, technically, this personifies the French Revolution in 1830, but it qualifies fine for us right now, 1789. Okay? Guys, as a general rule, can your 5 senses... Johnson, the one out there. Good luck. Can you, once again, can you quantify liberty? Using your 5 senses? Well, Delacroix says you can. Do you see liberty in the painting? Where is liberty in the painting? Liberty's in front. Liberty's in the middle. And liberty's a what? Woman. Liberty's a girl. Okay? Not a boy, a girl. Okay? Pretty strong, pretty solid. 0% body fat. Okay? That wind is whipping up. That wind is blowing. And she, with one hand, Liberty, with one hand, is grasping that flag. Is that flag blown away? No, that flag's not going anywhere. It's flapping in the breeze, sure. But the flag, she ain't letting go of that flag. Now, does liberty come at a price? Yes. You see all those dead people? Okay? First estate, second estate, third estate. Who buys into liberty? Which estate is a general rule? You see the third estate? You got the newspaper boy. You got the lawyer. You got the woman. Okay? Liberty leading the people. This and Napoleon, those are pretty hardcore romantic scenes of romanticizing what it would be like if we were free, if women could vote, if slaves were free, if we had democracy, if we eliminate absolute rule, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Now, eventually, what else is going on in 1800 to 1850 throughout France and Belgium and the Netherlands and the German city-states with the Industrial Revolution, right? And working on the assembly lines and working in the coal mines. Is that romantic? Or does that suck? That job sucks. Do you see how realism comes in? Along with photography, which makes accuracy unparalleled versus a painting. But the reality of sitting on these job lines, okay, that's not romantic at all. Not at all. Okay, those boring repetitive tasks. That's why Romanticism will eventually die out. Okay, and realism will take over afterwards. And then and then Impressionism to basically finish out the 1800s with art in Europe. Or I guess the West. David. David is to France, the French Revolution, what Trumbull is to the American Revolution. He's basically the historian of painting the French Revolution. Now, what makes David a freak of nature and very unusual is David. Well, do I have the paintings here, or do I have them in? I have them in my Euro slides. David paints for Louis XVI. He paints for Marat and Robespierre, and he paints for Napoleon. So David is unique in that David paints ultimately for all four quarters. He lived. He survived. Okay? The French Revolution. So Napoleon needs a painting, and he calls up David, knowing David has painted paintings for who? The king, Louis XVI. Now, why the crap would Napoleon call up David to paint him? What is Napoleon thinking? What's his motivation? Propaganda. Napoleon's a dude, man. Don't mess with Napoleon. Period. End of statement. Okay? You can play a game if you want, starting today to the rest of the semester. Actually, it's only through P5 until I'm done with these slides in this periodization. It's called the Pick the Lint game. Okay? Right now, we have Napoleon sticking his hand in his fingers, and he's picking the lint out of his belly button. Okay? Now, from now on, until I go through these P5 slides, you're going to see a bunch of dudes with their hands sticking in, grabbing lint out of their belly buttons. Okay? It's a part of the art genre with political leaders around the globe. This is only one. You're going to see a whole bunch from going forward. Okay? Now, I have no idea why they're all picking their belly buttons. There's a conspiracy theorist that'll say they're part of the Illuminati and the one world government and trying to bring about New World Order and all that stuff. Okay, and that was kind of their code. You know, press 1 if it's an innie, press 2 if it's an outie. I don't know, whatever. Okay, but I'm just telling you right now, you're going to start seeing some belly button dudes coming online. Okay, that was all the rage back then. But Napoleon, he's a lesser lord. He's kind of like Genghis Khan. He's a lesser lord. Okay? Like Genghis Khan, he rises up. Okay? He's your age. He graduates number 1 in his class. The Chassé de Millet, that's West Point for the French. That's their number 1 military school that they go to. Okay? So he's your age, and he graduates number 1 as a cavalry guy. Not like Alexander the Great, where I would argue his father kind of wink, wink, nod, nod, told the teachers, give him an A. Okay? Napoleon is a legitimate military stud, a brainiac. He's like Sun Tzu on steroids. Okay? Are you getting all this outside in context? All right? Napoleon's one of the smartest military commanders in the history of mankind. Okay? And he happens to be the right dude at the right place at the right time. France is reeling still from the heads rolling. Okay? These 12 guys and these 6 guys and these 3 guys, they can't figure it out. And Napoleon's like, I got this. I've been doing pretty well militarily. I'm not 100%. The dude was not undefeated. But he was certainly way better than Jason Garrett. Ever will be. Okay? Without question. All right. And so, he's a military commander. What are you going to do? All right, well, let's give him a shot. Okay? So he's in control. Here's another David painting. How is Napoleon, Adair, How is he going to promise stability and conquest? How do you know that? How's he going to do it? Look at the painting. What's his plan? Military. Well, how do you know that?
He's holding weapons.
Okay.
It's a large weapons company.
He's what?
He's holding weapons, which are large weapons company.
What weapons is he holding? Don't know. Nielsen, do you see weapons?
No.
I see a big back scratcher. That looks like a hand with a finger pointed up. See a spear. I guess a spear, maybe. Sure. We'll go with 2 spears, I guess. Guys, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Unalienable rights. The Enlightenment. Do you see any evidence of that in that painting? Look at the painting. Don't look at me. Don't look at the floor. Do you see any evidence of the Enlightenment in that painting? How is he going to run the state? How is he going to run France? How is he going to run Europe, Kelly?
Dictatorship.
What is your clue? He looks more like a dictator.
He's on a throne.
He's on a throne. Okay. So to me, a dictator is not necessarily the first thing I would say, but I'll accept dictator. Who sits on thrones? Monarchs, emperors, kings. Okay. What do you see on his head? A crown that looks like what? Where have you seen that before? Looks like a Caesar crown. Looks like a Roman Empire crown. Okay? What's your other clue, the Roman Empire? Look carefully at the painting. I've already given you this before. It was a couple months ago. What do you see at the bottom? There's an eagle. Well, remember the Byzantines had a 2-headed eagle? You remember that? Well, guess what the Roman Empire walked around with? That eagle. 1-headed eagle, basically. Okay. And by the way, what's he wearing? He's wearing what? He's wearing monarchical robes. That's not the guy didn't get out of a shower. Okay? He's not wearing a robe because he's cold after a shower. That's monarchical robes, man. Okay? That's how he's planning to run everything, and that's how he does run everything. Well, he can't effectively run everything because it's a lot to run. So he has brothers, and he has cousins, and he has uncles that help him run. Kind of like feudalism. It's kind of like feudalism redone. Feudalism 2.0. Okay? So he's got like an uncle, the Kingdom of Spain. Oh, check this out. Check out these 3 new things. What he's doing, what Napoleon's doing, is he is actually bringing the Enlightenment. He is bringing life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. He's birthing the Kingdom of Italy. Nationalism. We eat spaghetti and meatballs. We are getting tired of bratwurst and sauerkraut running our show. Italy will be born by the end of the century, 1870. Confederation of the Rhine. He births that. Well, what eventually is going to come later? Germany, 1871 is coming eventually. And then the last one is the Grand Duchy of Warsaw. Napoleon put Poland back on the map. After the Austrians, Prussians, and the Russians took it off the map. Partition of Poland. That was just a couple decades earlier. That was the 1790s. Those 3 dudes got rid of that stuff. He put them back on the map. So eventually, what's going to be there later? Poland. Again. So Napoleon, there's 3 reasons why you're going to have to study a little bit harder going forward on next Mental Map Quiz Monday. Because he's putting Germany, he's putting Poland, and he's effectively putting Italy all on the map. Okay. 1812. These 2 maps say it all. Napoleon's dominating Europe. But what is driving him nuts? Dominating, I should have in quotes, or I should use that term loosely. Because the reality is he actually doesn't have what and what. Swilly?
Great Britain and Russia.
He wants Britain, and he wants Russia. And then he can do what the Roman Empire didn't do. He can control all of Europe effectively. Well, I won't say effectively, but literally. That's more accurate. So he goes after England first. Doesn't do well. Strike one, 1804. This is 8 euros, this is free of charge. Battle of Trafalgar. I don't know if I'm saying it right. That's where Napoleon's navy, arguably ranked number 2 in the world in the history of mankind, up until 1804, goes up against the British Royal Navy. Number 1 in the world in the history of mankind. Who wins the Battle of Trafalgar? Britain. How do we know this? Well, they'd be speaking French right now if Napoleon won. That's how we know this. So now that Napoleon's navy is literally sitting at the bottom of the ocean, his chances of taking over Europe by a physical assault militarily have gone down to the bottom of the ocean with it. So what does he do next? He declares economic war. This is 8 euros, this is free of charge. It's called the Continental System. What's the Continental System? You can no longer trade with England. Now, why is he doing that? Because he's trying to starve out England. And if their economy is in shatters, and if their economy is trashed and depressed and in ruins, then England will go and kiss Napoleon's butt, say, we quit. We want food back in our bellies again. We're not worthy. Well, guess what? Does it work? No. How do we know it doesn't work?
They don't speak French.
Because they don't speak French over there. They're not shoving French fries. They're eating fish and chips, but not French fries.
They're not shoving
Okay.
baguettes down my throats.
What?
They're not shoving baguettes down my throats.
Right. Fish and chips is what they're eating. Okay.
What is it called again?
Fish and chips.
No.
The Continental System. A trade war, effectively. Well, guess who breaks the trade war? Who goes through and blows off the Continental System? Which country? Look at the map. Nope. You're too far, way too far west if you said Portugal. Way too far west if you said Italy.
Spain.
Go big. Russia. Russia blows it off. So what does Napoleon do in 1812? He goes on a little walk. We're not talking Seattle to San Diego or the equivalent of Honduras to the American-Mexican border. We're talking basically Paris to Moscow. Okay? Now, in the beginning, Napoleon and Alex I are BFFs. Because the last thing Napoleon wants as he's going after England is he doesn't want who to attack him? Russia. Because if he's going after, look at my fingers. Because if he's going after England and then Russia attacks, then Napoleon has how many problems? Two. He'll have a two-front war. Right? England on the west, Russia on the east. Can't win a two-front war. It's not going to work. Okay? So he kisses Russia's butt to keep it a one-front war. Goes after England. Doesn't work. Then he goes after Russia. And then we get this tricked-up thematic map. This is how it works. In the beginning, Napoleon is bringing... Now, this document says 422,000. I've seen estimates up to 600,000 plus. Whatever. Whether it's 400,000, 600,000, or somewhere in between. The La Grande Armée has been built. The largest army in the history of mankind. Napoleon has put it together. And they have one goal and one goal only. To go to Moscow and capture it. And then Russia's Napoleon's, and the rest they say is history. But a funny thing happens. The La Grande Armée is going in to Russia. And the problem is they are meeting minimal, if any, resistance by the Russians. Alex I is doing two things. Number one, he's telling his army to move in what direction. As Napoleon's moving east, Ton,
It'll move east.
move east. Exactly. Keep what? Do not engage. Okay? Oh, and at the same time, if it's alive, or if it's made of wood, what is Alex telling the Russians to do to it, Ton? Burn it. That's called scorched earth policy. Scorched earth policy. That's world and Euro. Guys, be very, 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 very careful online. Be very, 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 very careful. Your boss pisses you off. Your parents piss you off. I piss you off.
Kelly sucks.
Okay.
My parents, they're morons. I wish they were never born. But then I'd never be born.
Okay, but I digress. Be careful posting that crap online. Because what are you doing? When you're going after your parents, when you're going after me, when you're going after your boss, you're engaging in scorched earth policy. Screw them all. Okay? What's going to happen when you are looking around for another job? In the next place of employment, one of the first things they're doing is what? They're going to your social media accounts. And they're seeing you all pissed off. Be careful engaging in scorched earth policy. It usually doesn't work in the long run, as a general rule. Okay? But over here, it's actually working quite beautifully. Because if it's a cow, it's dead. If it's a stalk of wheat, it's dead. If it's Moscow, it's dead. Moscow's all wood back then, 1812. It's all wooden structures. Burnt down. Burnt to the ground. Okay? So this is what Napoleon is literally walking into. Look at the painting. When is Napoleon walking into Moscow?
Winter.
Late fall, early winter. For us. For Russia, it's always winter, effectively. Okay? So he's in Moscow. Well, let me go to the painting. So he's in Moscow in a smoldering ruins. And Alex I is a little bit farther east. He's got 1 foot at the foothills of the Ural Mountains, getting ready to go over them and continue east into Mother Russia. Here, Nappy, 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 Nappy. Here, Nappy, come and get me, Nappy. As he's climbing up the Ural Mountains. And Napoleon wants to do what? What does he want to do to Alex I?
Kill him.
He wants to throttle him. And so he starts going towards the Urals. And what do his troops say? We're out. We're done. So Napoleon's like, come on, guys. You can do it. And the troops are like, we can't do it. Where have you heard this story from before? Alexander the Great at the Indus River Valley. I told you history repeats itself, just not the same frequency nor intensity. It's not because Aristotle had convinced him he was just about ready to conquer the world because the earth is pretty small and you almost got it. No, they're starving. Napoleon's troops are starving. Okay? Because, go back to the map, what is Napoleon doing from Paris to Moscow? Well, they're living off the land. What does that mean? Well, that means when they see some food at a dinner table in the middle of a house, in the middle of Prussia, what does Napoleon's troops do? They break into your house and take the food. They're living off the land. What happens when they see a goat on the side of by the Grand Duchy of Warsaw in your backyard? What does Napoleon's troops do? They take your goat because they're hungry, living off the land. Okay? What's happening to the supply lines from Paris to Moscow every foot the Napoleonic troops get closer into Moscow? What happens to the supply lines? They get more risky. They get thinner. They get less reliable. So they have to resort to living off the land. But the problem is you can't live off the land when that's the land. And Napoleon's like, I want to go that way. I want to go east. I want to go after Alex I. And the troops are like, no, man. Get in my belly. Can't. So they turn around. Now what does Alex I tell his troops now? Go after him. Go after him. But go after him in traditional rules of conduct? No, guerrilla warfare, man. Hit and run tactics. Do it at night. Okay. So, do you see why I call it the Le Pipsqueak Armée? When he gets back out of Russia, he comes in with 400,000. He only comes back with 10 grand. Who defeated Napoleon in 1812 in Russia? Napoleon didn't defeat Napoleon. Mother Russia defeated Napoleon, or more specifically, the Russian winter defeated Napoleon. Where have you heard that story from before? Hitler? No. Where have you heard Mother Nature deciding a battle and turning the tide, literally?
Oh, China and Japan.
Thank you. Be more specific.
China.
Who wins?
Kublai Khan and his troops trying to cross the Sea of Japan, and the kamikaze wiping them out. This is the second time Mother Nature's gotten involved. Okay? Guys, you can't control hurricanes. You can't control tsunamis. You can't control the winter. Are you listening? You global warmist extremists? You can't control the weather. Weather happens. It happens. It happens at the Sea of Japan. Storm takes out the Navy. It happens in the middle of wintertime. Takes out the Napoleonic army. It is what it is. It's called Mother Nature. You can't control it. Are you kidding me? 10,000 left. Okay? All right. So, they're going in effectively dressed like Mr. K, dressed like Watson, dressed like, well, that's probably good enough, right? They're going in with their fall weather gear into Russian winter, okay? Do you know, this is Celsius, what's negative 38 degrees Celsius? What is that in Fahrenheit? Negative what? Negative a lot. Okay. Can you be a little bit more specific when you have a link on website? You can go and do a translation, or what is it called? You can go to Google or Bing or DuckDuckGo and you can type in Celsius to Fahrenheit translator, Oaks.
Negative 36.4 degrees Fahrenheit.
So negative 40 Fahrenheit. Stacy and I, 25 years ago, oh crap, our anniversary's coming up, isn't it? What is today?
It's 6th of November.
It's the 6th or the 1st?
6th.
Oh dear. All right. I got to think of something fast. All right. So we've been down here for it's November, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So 25 years we've been down here. All right. And in a month, 25 years ago, in 1 month, we're going to go visit her oldest brother, who lives in Minneapolis, in December. Okay? Now, if you don't know anything about December in Minneapolis, I'm going to tell you, because this is what happened 25 years ago in a month. This is what negative 30, negative 40, negative 50, negative 60 degrees Fahrenheit wind chill does. Right here is Philip's front door. I'm behind the glass. I'm looking out at the weather. Okay? And right there, where Yoon is at, on the bottom of the back of the driveway, that's the Minneapolis St. Paul Tribune, the Twin Cities newspaper. Okay? Back then they had these things called newspapers, okay? And so I have to go get it because I'm in Minneapolis and today's Monday. And what happened yesterday? Well, it was the NFL Sunday. Well, what game do I want to watch? I want to watch the Bears game. But the problem is I'm where? I'm in Minneapolis. So what's on TV there yesterday? The Vikings game. They didn't have the red ticket, the red Sunday, or the red zone. They didn't have DirecTV and Dish. Okay, it was whatever's on CBS or NBC. So we're Vikings. So I have to go to this thing called a newspaper at the end of the driveway to go find out what the Bears score was yesterday. I have no idea. Okay. So I'm all dressed up in my winter wear, and I start walking. Now look where I'm at. I've already done about 3 or 4 breaths out in this Minneapolis air, negative 30, 40, 50, minus wind chill. The snot, the saliva in my nose and my mouth and my throat are already doing what at this point? Already freezing. So I start to walk a little bit faster, okay? Because I don't want to die of hypothermia, all right? So I grab the newspaper, okay, and bing, and now I'm running in there, okay? Because now my boogers are freezing. And that's what 30, 40, 50 below wind chill does. Try and do that, okay? Try and walk around there in your shorts. See how that works out for you, okay? But anyways, so yeah, I've been in that weather. That is not fun weather, let alone walk around with like Watson with exposed skin, okay? Or Joris with her kneecap sticking out of her jeans, all right? I don't recommend wearing that. It might be a fashion trend, but you'll die. Don't wear that in that weather, okay? You'll thank me later. All right, so 1812, disaster. Napoleon's like, I ain't done yet. Britain's like, we've had enough of your crap. So Britain says, hey, Europe, let's go after Napoleon, okay? And Britain right now is feeling a little confident. I'll give you 10,000 reasons why Britain's feeling pretty confident right now they can defeat Napoleon, okay? And so ultimately in Waterloo, Belgium, will become Belgium in 1830, this was his Waterloo, Napoleon's Waterloo. He lost. Game over, asterisk. Game over, asterisk. Okay? He's actually outdone for 100 days. This is €8, this is free of charge. It's called the 100 Days. So he's exiled in Elba. Look at the map. He's exiled in Elba, an island in the Mediterranean. He's there for 100 days. What happens on day 101? Where does he go? He goes back to France. And what does he do next? He tries to recapture the glory days. He builds a La Grande Armée 2.0. But tell me about the numbers versus the La Grande Armée original. Smaller than. So Europe's like, what the crap? You're back again? Bing! And then they whip him again. And then he goes to the island of St. Helena over here, okay, next to Atlantis, the Titanic. And then he dies out there. He ain't coming back again. Okay? And that's 1815. And that is the first 9 weeks of AP Euro. Consequences. If this stuff can happen in France, this can happen anywhere in Europe where there is a monarch. Okay? And they are not happy about this idea of this life, of this liberty, of this pursuit of happiness, of these unalienable rights, of this co-share and constitutional monarchies, and God forbid a democracy or a republic where the king's completely out of play. Okay? Oh crap, let's go. I forgot about his head being chopped off. We better get back to that for a minute. Beheading of the king. Why is his head beheaded? Well, so these dudes bust in to Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette and Louis XVII, the kid, 17, remember that, bust into one of their palaces. They say, we got you. You're going to prison. Now, Louis XVI's like, what? Yeah, you're going to prison. Okay, well, there's not much he can do about it, but like, he's like, I'm the king, dude, you understand? So, okay, fine. So, you're going to stay here then. You can't leave. That's called house arrest. Remember Galileo? So, just think of the Gaylord or the W, all these extravagant hotels, right? Because it's the French palace, okay? But be that as it may, after a while, you're going to get tired-headed. You're going to want to bust out of there, okay? So in the dead of night, when they think no one's looking, the three of them, Louis XVI, 17, and Marie, get onto a little buggy, and they start going on a little trip. Where are they trying to go and why? What country are they trying to get to and why? Ton, look at the map. I already gave you the answer yesterday. Who is trying to escape France? Louis XVI, Marie Antoinette, and Louis XVII. Where are they trying to go, Adair, and why?
They're going to Austria.
Why?
Because Marie Antoinette's going to Austria.
Right. So they're bolting to Austria. They get stopped in Varnier. This is AP Euros, this is free of charge. Why are they getting stopped at Varnier? Because Louis has to go to the bathroom. It's like Buc-ee's. You're on this long road trip and you can't hold it anymore. So where are you going to go? You're going to go to Buc-ee's. So they go to Buc-ee's and they're in the bathroom. And then they're looking around Buc-ee's and they're like, jerky, peanuts, all that crap, like fountain drink, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So then they go to the checkout line and Louis XVI has to pay for everything as he's checking out at Buc-ee's. Well, what does he give the cashier? Doesn't give him gold. Gives him a dollar bill. Well, guess what's on the dollar bill? His head. Because he's the unit of currency. So Louis XVI, I'm going to pay for the beef jerky. And the guy's like, security! So they got busted at Buc-ee's, essentially. Okay. The guy recognized the king with the money that he had. It was on his money. Okay. Follow the money. Okay. So now France has a question, don't they? Now what do we do with the king? You see, the reason why he was under house arrest originally is because the National Assembly was tied up trying to build a constitution to form a constitutional monarchy. What's the problem? The king got busted. The king got busted for what? Trying to flee the country. To go where? To an enemy state. That's called treason. Well, now what do we do? Well, there's some in the National Assembly that are like, hey guys, if I was the king, I would have done the same thing. Leave him alone. It is what it is. We've gone too far. We're done. Let's just finish writing the Constitution and let's just move on. Constitutional monarchy. And then there's Robespierre that's saying what? Do that to the king. Whoa. You mean kill a king? You mean a descendant of the Sun King? You're crapping me, right? We already had the dude under house arrest. That was a little sketchy. You're saying kill him? Are you kidding me? And Robespierre's like, yeah? Like yesterday. Guillotine, doctor, where are you? Like cold blue, where are you? Okay? McDreamy or McSteamy? Whatever, okay? Die, stop it! The answer is I don't even know. I don't even watch that show. All right, but anyways. Do you see the dilemma? Well, guess who takes control? Jacobins. How do we know this? Because he got his head chopped off. That's why. And then so we ended the first quarter, essentially, as the king, and we kick off we kick off the second quarter with the king's head chopped off, and then the reign of terror, and all those, and all that other, all that other stuff. Okay. Do you get it? If they in France can do that to their monarch, two Roman numerals after the pinnacle, the absolute of absolutes of Louis the Sun King, then that can happen anywhere. That can happen anywhere. And all of their monarchical jobs are on the line. Their heads are all on the line. Okay? About 1,000 years ago, Charlemagne helped get the Pope out of jail. About 1,000 years ago, what did the Pope do to reward Charlemagne again?
Made him an emperor.
Crowned him emperor. And for 1,000 years, if you were a ruler and you wanted true legitimacy in your empire, where did you go and why did you go and who did it to you? You went to Rome so that the Pope can do what? Crown you the legitimate ruler of your empire. And now we fast forward to 1800-ish, I can't remember, 1802, 1803, 1800, around 1800, and Napoleon is where?
Rome.
He's in Rome. He's hanging out with who?
The Pope.
The Pope. Now, why is he doing that? Because the Pope's supposed to crown him. So as the Pope is getting ready to crown Napoleon, well, his wife first, Josephine, Napoleon grabs the crown from the Pope, crowns his wife, who he will later divorce. Then he will grab the second crown, and he will crown who? What? Himself, Emperor of Europe. And that is the final nail in the coffin of the foreign policy, the diplomacy, and the political power and sway and influence that the popes of the Catholic Church have in Europe. From 800 to 1800, the Catholic popes dominated politics in Europe. Not anymore, not with Napoleon. You combine this with that separation of church and state and secularism and all, it's all coming online. It's all running together here. And then what happens? And then we fast forward to, let's synthesize. Then we go to Mussolini. This is APRO, this is free of charge. And he goes to the Pope and he says, hey, let's kiss and make up. That's the Lateran Agreement, 1929. And Mussolini needs to kiss up to the Pope because Mussolini needs the Pope and the Catholics of Italy to help Hitler deal with some Jews and help take Europe over. Okay? That's World War II. And then we go, a synthesis sentence 2, then we go to the 1980s, and then we go to Poland, and then we go to Pope John Paul II, and he says, hey, Lech Walesa, you keep doing what you're doing, screw communism, and screw the commies, and screw the Soviets. I approve of this message, Pope John Paul II says. And then shortly, that was 1989. What happens in 1991? Fall of communism. Pope John Paul II had a lot to do with that, a lot of influence. He encouraged the Eastern Bloc nations to rise up against the man. And then we got the new guy, who I still can never remember his name. What's his name? Francis. Francis is talking about Trump. Francis is talking about the environment. Francis is talking about blah. Francis is trying to global influence Francis. Okay? The Pope's trying to make a comeback, aren't they? With politics. And now on a global, with Francis on a global scale, literally global warming. Okay? As I finish up my essay. Pope's making a comeback, trying to make a comeback. Okay? That's where we are. Did everyone approve of Napoleon?
No.
No. No way, man. Okay? Europe is shell-shocked. They are freaked out. Now, guys, I want you to put the following, put classical in here. Classical conservatism. Classical conservatives and conservatives today are not the same thing. They are polar opposite. Listen to what I'm telling you. A classical conservative wants who to be in charge? Absolute monarchs with absolute power, unquestioning authority from your cradle to your grave. The state controls your life from birth to death. That is a classical conservative. They are pro-absolute rulers. Guys, what is a liberal today? What do they want? They want Obamacare. They want, are you getting what I'm saying? They want full and control, state control from cradle to grave. They have flipped, they have inverted from 1815 to 2018. There are reasons for this that I go more into AP Euro, but I'll touch on a little bit here. Okay? Right now in P5, I am a classical liberal. I believe in enlightenment. I believe in life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I believe in government stays lazy and government needs to stay out of my grill. Okay? I do not believe that the government should be poking around all around in my business. It's none of their business. I haven't committed any crimes. I am not a threat to the state. Stay out of my business. I am a classical liberal in P5. I am a constitutional conservative now. Small government. Okay? So we are talking about classical conservatives here. They are flipping out what Napoleon did. Because what Napoleon did is he unleashed hope. And he unleashed the odds, may they always be in your favor. Well, now Napoleon's actually making that a reality and a potential possibility and a potential future reality. Okay? Remember, the odds are never in your favor. At least that's what I remember. Okay? Well, Napoleon is actually turning those tables around. All right? And the conservatives, the classical conservatives are saying, man, we cannot let these liberals fester. They cannot go and spread this life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Because if these actions of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness are allowed to take root and germinate and spring forth, they are out of a job. These absolute monarchs are out of a job. These classical conservatives, pro-absolute, pro-big government, pro-federal government, they're out of a job. So they meet in Vienna at 1815. This is the Congress of Vienna. Okay? And there they are. All the big wigs are there. Okay? What are we going to do? Well, what they're trying to do is they're trying to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. They are trying to put the genie back into the bottle. They are trying to put the horse back into the barn. That's what they're trying to do. Okay? And ultimately, at the end of the day, their number one goal is to prevent a Napoleon 2.0 from occurring. Their number one goal is to try and prevent a continental explosion from occurring again. Well, guess what? They're going to be successful for 99 years. Because what's going to happen in 1914? The Great War. And the focus there will be Europe. So, unlike the Crusades, where the number one goal was to recapture the Holy Land from Islam, they epically failed. The goal of preventing a Napoleon 2.0, the scourge beginning from France, they were successful for 99 years. Okay? All right. Further revolution's impossible. Further classical liberal. You guys that like liberty. You guys that like freedom. You guys that don't like your parents nosing around and find my iPhone and demanding that they know all your passwords before you even know your passwords. And they're always looking over your shoulder. And they're always on Skyward like every 30 minutes looking to see if I've updated grades. You know the parents. Okay? That's absolutism, man. You guys that are against all that, you know, you got a lot of work to do, man. You got a lot of work to do in the mid-1800s to break yourself free. All right? Because these guys at the Congress of Vienna, they're like, no way, we don't want this liberal ideology to get out. All right. Shoot. Oti, were you the one that sent me the picture? Did you send me the picture where I had all of it and it had Metternich and I thought one of you guys did that. All right. Well, we can do this right now. What did I do here? Italian city-states. Oh, well, let's go back to the Roman Empire. What's the Congress of Vienna? The Congress of Vienna was to basically, another one of the things they're doing diplomatically, internationally, foreign policy, is to maintain a balance of power. Forget the Roman Empire, I'm not going to do that. The Italian city-states is where we'll start. The Italian city-states, from basically 1100 to 1300, during the Crusades, are maintaining a balance of power. Venice does not jump away from Genoa. Genoa does not jump away from Venice. They're pretty even, as a general rule. Okay? Then we go back to now in the slides, the Congress of Vienna. To maintain a concert of Europe, the Congress of Vienna, 1815, it works till 1914. Okay? Then we go to the League of Nations. Now I'm synthesizing. Now we go to the League of Nations. That is 1919 and 1939 to maintain the peace in Europe. That ultimately will get us to the United Nations. The United Nations is still active, 1945 to the present. And then today is the European Union. Today, European Union. So the European Union are the kids, the United Nations are the parents, the League of Nations are the grandparents, the Congress of Vienna to maintain the concert of Europe are the great-great-grandparents, and the Italian city-states are the great-great-grandparents of trying to keep Europe in peace. Do you guys follow the logic in the generations? Why does the Italian city-state stuff fail? Because of war. Because of the Crusades. The conflict. Well, then they try and solve it. Right? Well, why? Well, we can go to the Crusades all the way to the Napoleonic Wars. Crusades to the Napoleonic Wars. And Europe is tired of all these wars, so they get the Congress of Vienna together. And it works for about 100 years, and then what happens? World War I. Right? Well, then Europe gets tired of World War I, and what do? They kiss and make up again, League of Nations. And then what happens? Well, they go to war. It's World War II, right? World War II. Well, then they get tired of World War II, right? And then they kiss and make up, right? And then that's the United Nations and the European Union, right? History repeats itself, just not the same frequency nor intensity. True or false?
True.
Well, guess what's next in the pattern? World War III. What'd you expect? European Union's still around, isn't it? United Nations is still around, isn't it? Hasn't completely blown up like the UN, or excuse me, like the League of Nations. That doesn't exist. League of Nations doesn't exist. Congress of Vienna doesn't exist. Italian cities, they don't exist. We're well overdue for a war, man. Okay? You don't believe that pattern? Do you believe that pattern? And that pattern, and that pattern, and that pattern? Do you believe that? Do you believe history repeats itself, just not the same frequency nor intensity?
Yes.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We went over what the Chinese are doing right. We went over what the Russians are doing right. We did that yesterday. Okay? You guys getting the synthesis? You getting the context? I'm giving you a lot of synthesis today. Last couple of days. All right. 3 dudes. There's technically 5. There's 3 big ones. Metternich is first. Get these down before the bell rings. Metternich is dominating. He is in charge of Austria. 1815 to 1848, this is AP Euros, this is free of charge. 1815 to 1848 is known as the Age of Metternich. Europe is dominated by his diplomacy. What's his agenda? What is motivating him? It's very simple. If the Enlightenment is allowed to fester, he will be the first one out of a job. Because he has the most diverse empire, the most diverse borders, language, and cultures. So the first one on the unemployment line, if the Enlightenment is allowed to grow, will be him. He has the most to lose. That's why he is the most motivated to make sure liberalism never takes foot. Okay, Holly?
So, like, what government?
He believes in absolutism. Absolutism. Okay? Austria. Castlereagh of England. He's ranked number 2. Castlereagh of England. What's England's position? Number 1, freedom of the seas ain't free. Who's in charge of the water? Britain is. The sun never set on the British Empire. Now it's reality. 1815. The only navy in the world that can maybe be a mosquito on the side of this elephant. The barnacle on the whale, because we're talking about navies. Maybe the barnacle would be the United States American Navy. So freedom of the seas is no longer free. Britain's in charge. Colonies are off limits. We're not discussing colonies. Colonies are off limits. And a standing army is off limits. Britain is not dealing with the standing army. Okay? Tomorrow we'll get to Alex 1. We'll get to the Holy Alliance. 219, 219, 219.